G'day there, Aussie Stern here, country Victorian gamer of Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, Dystopian Wars, Battletech, Flames of War and many other games. Today is the 22nd of July 2024 and we have just finished over the weekend Atomic Mass Games or Asmodee's mini extravaganza event for July, showing us a roadmap of what they're planning to do with Shatterpoint, Legion and Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now, I'm not a player of Marvel Crisis or Shatterpoint at this point in time, but some of them were pretty good to have a look at anyway for the painting and also the models itself. My own game that I play, unfortunately with the discontinuation of Armada and X-Wing, is primarily Legion. So this is my take on what I got from the actual broadcasts on Twitch, as well as watching Crabbok's watch party and some of my initial reactions to how the game is going to be going forward. First things that I want to say is that, is this a new edition? I think it is, but it is less of a unit change, more so rule change in terms of, although the cards have changed and I've got some printed out in front of me, it's more of a case of how the game is approached pre-playing it. Most of the rules that I've seen so far looking at the rule book is pretty much consistent, with the exception of the cover rule and the armor rule being changed slightly. Both of them could be really good for the game, I find. The complexity that cover had previously has been, I guess, streamlined, and it will also be the case of looking at how much of an impact that is to your upgrade cards or your situational cards. Now, Thursday, we saw a discussion on Star Wars Legion, the actual rule set, how it's being changed. Couple of things that were straight off the bat. Oh, we're now from 6 rounds down to 5 rounds. Not a bad idea. It brings faster play. It also brings the understanding that you need to get your stuff to your objectives or to the mission to actually get the points before round 5. Other things, point increase. Point increase, yeah, it's 1,000. That's pretty typical for most games these days. I believe that 1,000 is pretty much the minimum these days that you can get for a game of 40k under the old point system. I'm not 100% about the new system, but essentially 1,000 points is a nice round number. Other things that were changed, you've now got a half range ruler to help you to coordinate between models, to maintain unit cohesion when it's a small group of like 5. Again, not bad. They've also introduced tokens to actually have you, basically your objective tokens, and they're slightly larger than the previous tokens that we've had for objectives or for caches and that, which is not a bad idea either. They also got rid of some of the actual you must be in base-to-base contact ideas, and that's also good. And they also proceeded to talk about how a lot of the units that we have currently are going to still be perfectly playable. It's just that the new rules come in effect now. No, now. What that means for an average player, if you're doing tournament play, yes, you have to learn the new rules. Yes, you have to print out all the unit cards. You need to get all the upgrades. You need to use your sleeves to actually put them in. The upgrade cards have now gone to a larger size, so you're going to need something to back them. Beyond that, I think some of the unit cards haven't been updated yet. Just looking at the Rebels, I have seen Rebel Troopers, Rebel Fleet Troopers, Veterans, las cannons, Commando Strike Team, but not Commandos themselves. Same thing, no Clan Ren. Same thing, no Pathfinders. So there are still elements still to come for some of these. Also, no Han, no Lando, no Ahsoka. So there is a lot of things that they still need to do to upgrade the actual cards itself. Be that as it may, myself as a casual gamer, I'm probably going to stick with the current rules until the new actual faction card packs come out next year, Q3. So for me, Q3 would be around about October, which is spring of next year. The other thing that they mentioned was that the sizing of the units are going to change. So rather than, you can perfectly run 4 units of Rebels at 4 points each, potentially with an extra person if you wanted to, or a heavy. But rather than your upgrade card only giving you 1, you get 5 of them. That means that now I've only got if I wanted to do the complete unit upgrade as such, I only end up having 1 full unit and 1 unit of 4, and then 3 models spare. So that's from 4 units down to 1.5 units. And that is pretty much the same for my Stormtroopers as well. I've only got 3 units of Stormtroopers, and they're on the minimum side of 5. What that means is that I'm going to have to go down the pathway of either looking to purchase more of the existing range, wait until the new ones come out, which is Q2 of next year, I believe, which is March, April, somewhere around there. Option 3, well, I can also go down the 3D market of purchasing some more models. But if I go down the pathway of getting 3D models, I need to make sure that I get the right size. I need to make sure that they have at least a similar dimensions. And that can be sometimes hit and miss with 3D printers. Beyond that, they talked about how they're going to change their language rather than having a SKU for each various language types: English, Spanish, German, French. I think that was all that there was. They're now going to a universal system, so they will have a card that basically you can purchase online that has the same SKU as everywhere. But those boxes won't start coming out until the start of next year. The upgrade cards that will come out, like I said, won't come out to Q3. And that pretty much ended with a few more clarets and discussions about a few things. The actual roundtable discussion on the Star Wars Legion. Day 2, Friday, we saw the big impacts. We saw the Star Wars Legion roadmap, and the first thing that they showed us was the Star Wars Legion Rebel Sleeper Cell and Right Squad. I previously called it Subjugation Squad, but I think Right Squad is actually better in terms of a title. I'm a little bit disappointed that the actual Sleeper Cell is a Special Forces. I can understand why, because you've got such a normal range of these guys that are pretty much almost Sleeper Cells themselves in the core. They don't have as much ability like the Sleeper Cell, but they still have a lot of the same things. The Marksman, it's a slightly different rule set than the idea of having a heavy gunner that has a slightly better weapon. In this case, it only gives you a single die, at least a red die, to add into your attack pool, and you can potentially cause some damage via that. The R5 unit, again, interesting enough, the card, the upgrade card that they showed in it, shows a R4 droid, or I believe that they're also called flower pot droids. But then in the actual miniature pack, you actually got an R5 unit. That's only for those of us that are actual Star Wars nerds and know our R-series droids inside and out. Personally, I probably won't get the Sleeper Cell, at least at this stage. I might get it just so that I can add them in to fill out, but I'm more likely to wait until the recasts come out. The Riot Squad, I'm definitely getting. I definitely want the Riot Squad. It'll give my Stormtroopers a melee unit, as well as the KX droids, which is, I guess, a really good droid in my cool values. I am surprised that the KX droid is only available to the actual Riot Squad instead of the likes of any type of Stormtroopers, because you did see them in both Andor with normal Stormtroopers, in the likes of Rogue One with normal Stormtroopers. May change later on, who knows, whatever the case may be. Then they went through and showed some of the first stage of the new stuff coming out next year. So Q1 had some new clone troopers, the aquatic droids. I don't play either Separatist or Republic, so I glossed over that. Q2, they showed the start of the reprints, and they showed off firstly the Rebel troopers and also the Stormtroopers. Now, like I said, both of them, I believe that I'll probably get one of to flush out these units. Even if I'm still half of a unit, so 5 and 4, it should give me enough to get close enough to 3 full units. The interest, I like the poses, and I'm hoping with the sprues that I can be able to swap out the head of the sergeant to put a normal trooper type head in, so I don't have to have a heavy or a sergeant with it. I can just have a full box of 11 normal troopers. Whether or not it allows me to do that, I don't know. I may have to explore. Same thing with the stormtroopers. I like the box. I'll get all of them, but I'll convert the actual sergeant and also the actual heavy to the likes of a normal trooper. I'm also on the opinion that maybe what I might want to do is with that sergeant of the stormtroopers, actually turn it into another stormtrooper officer or some sort of heavy or technical or something or other. That might be fun to do. I'll wait and see on that. They also revealed the scout troopers for Empire. This is a unit that I am feverishly waiting to get. It is one of the things that I wanted to get for my Tempest squad. So I may end up buying at least 2 squads or 2 boxes of it. Depending on how available are they or how easy it is for me to manage. They also showed off Rebel Commandos. This one I probably won't. I've already got Commandos. I've already got Pathfinders. If I get the Rebel cells, it'll give me another Special Forces. I've also got Clan Ren. I also haven't even got the Wookiees yet. So I've got a lot of Special Forces that I can only field 3. And although the strike squads aren't included in that 3, I sort of wonder whether or not I want to go any further with them. I'll have to have a look at some of the rules for them in regards to whether or not their units have increased. Like I said, the commandos are not in the actual unit card update yet. Strike team, yes. Normal commandos, no. Normal pathfinders, no. Ren, Clan Ren or Mandalorians, no. Wookiees, no. So I still don't know exactly how much in the way of a unit they may change to. Whether or not they stick to the same level that they were of 4 miniatures plus 1 or 2, or in the case of Clan Ren, only 3, or alternatively some other metric. We then saw, after the troopers, they showed off the heroes of the Rebellion. So this is a pack that has Han, Leia, Luke, Operative Luke, Chewie. A little bit disappointed, no R2-D2 or C-3PO, because I would believe that they're heroes of the Rebellion. Maybe, maybe not. But this is just one box set that you get a whole lot of leaders. Myself, I've already got all of them. I think that I would definitely want an Operative Luke. But if I'm going to get the card already in the card upgrade pack in quarter 3, I may not actually buy another full unit of commanders. Then they showed something rather interesting. They showed the Darth Vader and General Veers all by themselves. So while the Rebels got a pack of like 4 leaders and an operative, Chewie being the operative, 2 operatives, I should say. They then proceeded with only having 2 for the Empire. And it got me wondering, is there any way that they could add more to the box? And it could be that they might be looking to add in something later on that they haven't worked quite well yet. We do know that there is another box set coming after Q4, which is the first of Q1 of 2026, which is the Imperial commands. I'll get to that in a minute. But either way, only having these 2 models was in some ways a little bit of letdown. I probably won't get them because I've already got a Veers, I've already got a Vader. I may want the cards that come with it, but if I get the card pack, if they're in there, I probably won't. Then they went on and started showing some more far-reaching things that they were going to do. First off, in Q1, like I said, an Imperial Command Group. This is 4 High Commanders of the Imperial. You have Grand Admiral Thrawn, Grand Moff Tarkin, Director Krennic, and General Targ. All 4 of these models I have not got. I don't have a Krennic, I don't have, none of the other 3 have been released yet. So that is a box set that I'm definitely going to get. They also showed off something rather interesting. They showed off probe droids, which I went and said, wow, I've already got one. If they come in units of 2, I'm going to have to get a second one. It was also interesting that I couldn't quite work out the scaling, and even they made a comment that they had to do a lot of research to find out what is the appropriate scale of a probe droid against people. And in the actual movies, you never saw them standing right next to each other. So there was no point of reference. Yes, you did see probe droids in Star Wars Rebels, the anime series, but in many ways they could have been a different model, different make. They certainly were slightly different in terms of their overall abilities than the probe droid that we saw in the movie. But either way, I'm quite interested in knowing how they're going to play. What is their mechanic? Are they going to be something that you can utilize in a reconnaissance role or an infiltrate role? Then they got to some artwork of what is going to happen going forward. And the first thing that they showed off was mounts for characters. And they showed off General Grievous in his wheel. They also showed off Han and Luke on Tauntaun. Interesting enough, I'm not sure whether or not they could do any Imperial characters on creatures or vehicles. In my mind, there's not many times when you saw them, the main characters, in a vessel or in a small vehicle. I think I can recall seeing Governor Price in the Star Wars Rebels series being on a lat. But that's probably the smallest thing that I've seen a High Commander on. Certainly in the comic series, you could possibly think of them being on Dewbacks or some other creature. They did comment that yes, they would think that Obi-Wan being on any of his ridden mounts would be rather interesting. When you think that in episode 3 he was on the big lizard dragon sort of thing, hippogriff creature, I can't remember what it's called. You also saw him in his own series of Kenobi being on a actual epi, or looks like a little horse with a droopy nose sort of thing. You've also seen both him and Anakin on speed bikes in Clone Wars, the anime series as well. So you've got a lot options with both separatists, clones, and also rebels in a way. I personally wouldn't mind seeing a Leia on a speed bike. That would be interesting. And then they basically finished off their presentation going ahead and talking about what they think beyond that in terms of doing some of the other resculpts, in terms of doing the likes of some of the things that they are looking towards but haven't gotten on the table yet. And they were very hush-hush about what they're wanting to do. They're saying that there is a lot of things that they're wanting to do beyond that. What they didn't say was Gungans, and that's something that the watch party that I was viewing of Crabbok was very much talking about. That where's the Gungans, and constantly raising that fact. One thing I didn't really comment on that I found interesting in the roadmap is there was nothing for Shadow Collective. Even in the new card set, there's not a lot for Shadow Collective. I would imagine that they will be there, but we don't have any of the bounty hunters. There's no cards for the bounty hunters yet. I didn't see anything for the likes of Gar Saxon or the Death Commandos or Death Cult Mandalorian, Death Watch Mandalorians. So that's interesting. And then they went into painting the actual Riot Squad. On day 3, they had another roundtable discussion on how the new setup mission system works. How instead of having your 3 decks of card, you work out who has priority and you use that person's deck of cards to work out what is the mission, what is the layout, and what is conditions. Now it's a case of you have a primary mission, a secondary mission, and a advantage. But alternatively, where it's all been one player, both players use their deck. You have your cards of your mission, secondary, and advantage. You work out who has priority. Whoever has the priority, or blue player, gets to put their primary mission down, while the second player then gets to put down the secondary mission. Then each player flips a card in their advantage. After they flip that, Then they do a bit of shuffling of the mission. Each player has 2 goes of modifying it in one way or another, either by replacing a mission with one from the top of your deck, replacing a secondary from your deck, from your secondary mission deck, replacing an advantage from your deck, or forcing the other player to lose their advantage and bring out another card, or of course pass. This mechanic, I think, is going to be quite interesting to play. Working it out, how it's going to feel, is going to take some time. Getting all the rules right is going to take some time. And that pretty much brought up to the end of the actual mini extravaganza for 2024. I guess for myself, the big things that I'm going to need to worry about going forward is, of course, price. If we're going to a larger size unit, obviously there's going to be more plastic in it, in each unit, and also the cost of purchasing those plastics is going to increase. That can be, like, in many ways, inflation does take into account for the idea of doing a price rise, but how much of a price rise? For example, when I first started doing gaming, the 40k tactical squads were five squad. And I got them in Australia for around about 24 bucks. Now you have units, tactical squads of 10. They are costing somewhere up to around about $60 now. I may even be wrong about that. It may be even higher, but still, I think the last time I bought a tactical squad was in that 60 plus range. So price is going to be an important factor. The second important factor is gameplay. How these new rules are going to work, I can only tell by trying them out, and they'll take time. The third point is the rule of cool. If the models are good, great, happy, and they do look great. The models for the Rebel Troopers, the Rebel Commandos, the Stormtroopers, Scout Troopers, the Imperial Officers, all look great. How well they fit together, only time will tell. From what we've seen on the screen of the Riot Squad being painted, they still look good, clean cut builds, which is great. Lastly is the availability side of things. Seeing I'm in Australia, we should get a good stock, but it's going to be the case of how many of the stock comes across to our warehouses to go to our distribution centres. I would imagine that the ones that will quickly fall off the shelf will be those card packs. So I'm hoping that Atomic Mass Games understands that and actually does a buffer supply of those types of things, because everyone will need to get those card packs. The other ones that will be very much people will want to get is, of course, the likes of your Imperial Commander, Hero of the Rebels, etc. But we won't see a lot of detail on them until obviously the next mini extravaganza sometime in March next year. So we'll wait for that. All in all, I liked it. I'm still going to play the game. I still will collect the models. I will still try and boost the community for the game around here in country Victoria. and support the region in terms of doing demonstration, gameplay, etc. I'm going to be going to PAX in October in Melbourne, and when I go there I will be looking to get a few games, or at least one demonstration game under the new rules for Star Wars Legion. But I think that's about it for me. What are your thoughts? Please write or take a look at any of the other videos that people have spoken about. There is going to be a lot of people that will do deep dives into the rules as they're being released in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure that's going to be really helpful for both myself and any other player that needs to rejig their forces. Myself, I'm going to stick with version 1 or 1.5 for now until these card packs come out, and we'll see how we go from there. But for now, I'll say please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment if you're able to on this or any of my other content throughout my channel. And for now, I'll see you on the table next time. Bye for now.